This is your USMNT Abroad weekend update from February 11th to February 13th of 2022. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to Tactical Manager TV, and welcome to another USMNT Abroad episode, a channel favorite, where every Monday and every Friday, we update you on how the Yanks did abroad. And since today's the weekend review, we'll be doing a weekend recap of their performances abroad. Now, before we start this video, one quick reminder, if I don't mention the name of a player, it's likely because he didn't play or he plays in the lower league, and I just am not going to cover it because there's a lot of guys to go through. We'll also have this week the interview with Caden Clark here at the channel, so don't miss out. Keep an eye on that. Should be out on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday in a USA versus Senegal player-by-player comparison, as you all requested on the polls. Alright, so I did miss the beginning of the Super Bowl as I was recording and finishing up the script for this video, so make sure to drop that like button to support the channel, subscribe if you enjoy. Let's play the intro and let's start with the updates. Alright, let's start with Christian Pulisic from Chelsea, which I am totally not pissed off that Palmeiras lost to Chelsea in the Club World Cup final. I'm totally fine with it. On Saturday, Pulisic started off on the bench for Chelsea during their 2-1 win in extra time over Palmeiras for the FIFA Club World Cup final. Due to a Mason Mount injury in the 31st minute, Pulisic was sent in early into this game, and boy, did he show up to play. Pulisic came in running Chelsea's offense. He was getting the ball, taking defenders on one-on-one. Every time he would get fouled, he would take the set piece. He was taking corners. It seemed like it was his team. It seemed like he was in charge and he was the one that wanted to win that match. He was absolutely vital for Chelsea on offense. I know he didn't play a key role maybe on the goals, but he was their biggest threat on offense for the entire time that he was in the field, or maybe towards the end he got a little tired, but for the most part that he was in the field, he was their best player on offense. Pulisic had 55 touches for this match, 87% passing accuracy, 1 key pass, 3 dangerous shots off target, 1 shot that was blocked, also had 2 out of 2 successful dribbling attempts while getting fouled 4 times on the other times he tried to dribble past someone, and that was the player that got fouled the most throughout this match. An absolutely great performance from Christian Pulisic as he becomes the first American to actually play in a FIFA Club World Cup final, and congratulations to him even though he defeated Palmeiras. Pulisic's now a Club World Cup champ, and as I said already before, I was not happy, and Palmeiras will win it eventually. Which, by the way, the FIFA Club World Cup's format will change to 24 clubs eventually by FIFA. I think the next edition or 2 from now will be like that. With that expansion, the odds of seeing an MLS club would be absolutely fantastic. And I want to hear from you. Which MLS club will be the first club to feature in a FIFA Club World Cup? And don't be biased towards the team you like, okay? Which one you actually think will be the first one? Alright, next player up on the list is Weston Mckennie from Juventus. On Sunday, Weston Mckennie started and played 81 minutes for Juve during their 1-1 draw with Atalanta. A late draw, by the way, as Juve got an equalizer at the 92nd minute. Weston was absolutely fantastic once again. He played as a dual 8 with a 6 behind him and the other 8 in the midfield in a 3-man midfield. Yes, he would roam a lot, drift wide, and mostly he was high up the field. You know, the way that Allegri likes to utilize Weston Mckennie. And again, he looked absolutely fantastic. For this match, Weston Mckennie had 41 touches, 89% passing accuracy, 6 key passes, which is quite impressive, won only 1 of his 6 ground duels, lost all 3 of his aerial duels. However, he also had 2 clearances, 1 block shot, and 1 interception. An absolute stud. He is in the best form of his career and one of the best midfielders in Serie A, and I have to say this, in set pieces, he's a complete nightmare for defenders and probably a top 3 midfielders when it comes to aerial ability. Yeah, I think he might be top 3 in the world in terms of aerial ability of midfielders. Now let's talk about Gio Reyna from Borussia Dortmund. On Sunday, Reina was going to play for Dortmund. It's unclear whether he was going to start or come off the bench. However, he did not join the team due to an illness. We're wishing Gio Reyna a speedy recovery. It doesn't seem like it's anything major based off the reports from the club. Now, Dest from Barcelona. On Sunday, Dest started and went the full 90 minutes for Barcelona during their 2-2 draw with Espanyol, a derby among these 2 clubs. Personally, I was not able to watch this match as it was at the same time as Weston Mckennie's game. Dest played as a right back. Both goals were not Dest's fault, even though the second one he was involved. And I'm not trying to defend him or anything, but he was trying to recover for Eric Garcia's poor positioning. Now, for this match, Dest had 55 touches, 97.5 passing accuracy, lost possession only 3 times, won 3 out of 5 ground duels, had 2 tackles and 1 clearance. Not a very active game for Sargent, however, he will get another start during the midweek as Barcelona faces Napoli for the Europa League, and Dani Alves is not registered for that competition. Next up is Tyler Adams from RB Leipzig. On Saturday, Tyler Adams stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes for Leipzig during their 3-1 win over Cologne. Tyler is returning from a hamstring injury, and considering they had a 3-0 lead all the way till the 90th minute, it made sense for them to rest him and save him for a future game. Alright, now we're going to do it by position, and we're going to start with the goalkeepers, and I'll talk about Zach Steffen and Ethan Horvath. First, Zach Steffen stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes for Manchester City as expected, and as it will always be unless they play cup games, and not Champions League, like actual cup games. Next up is Ethan Horvath and Alex Maitan. Alex Maitan's not a goalkeeper, but I do him because they both play for Nottingham Forest. On Saturday, Horvath stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes for Nottingham Forest during their 2-2 draw with Stoke City. Maitan for this game came in at the 82nd minute. Now, there is good news here. Samba got a straight red card at the 85th minute and should get a 3-match ban, so Horvath will get opportunities finally. Now, you might be asking, why did Horvath not come in when Samba got a red card? Well, they were out of subs by then. That's why Horvath didn't get 5 minutes into this match. Hey, good news for Horvath right there. All right, now let's go to the center backs, and let's start with John Brooks from Wolfsburg. And since we're talking about Wolfsburg, I'll talk about Kevin Paredes as well. On Saturday, Brooks started and went the full 90 minutes for Wolfsburg during their 2-0 win over Eintracht Frankfurt. Brooks had a man-at-the-match performance. Wolfsburg's defense started off a little shaky, but Brooks was able to save them a few times with some key blocks, interceptions, tackles, and clearances. Yes, he did get burnt once out on the right flank, and we know that speed is not his forte. Regardless, Brooks also got a yellow card in this match, but in terms of stats, Brooks had 10 clearances, which is pretty damn high, 3 block shots, 3 interceptions, 3 tackles, 1 dribble pass. He also won 4 out of 6 ground duels. He won all 4 of his aerial duels while having 78 touches and a low 55% passing accuracy. So distribution probably could have been better. So Greg Berhalter said that Brooks was out of the roster because of form. Now, if he's having man-at-the-match performances in Bundesliga, form is not an issue anymore. So we'll see what Greg's excuse will be in March, as he definitely does want to bring Aaron Long in. But it seems like it's time to bring Brooks back. As for Kevin Paredes, he stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes for Wolfsburg, and he's yet to make his debut since arriving in Germany. Next up is Eric Palmer-Brown from Troyes. I think I got that right in French now. On Sunday, Palmer-Brown started and went the full 90 minutes for Troyes during the 5-1 loss to Brest at Ligue 1. See? Troyes. Did I get that right? Ligue 1. I am becoming the Frenchiest non-French man to ever French. Just look at my French. It's looking beautiful. I did not watch this match, but when you're a center back and your team allows 5 goals, it can't be a good performance. Okay, now Mark McKenzie from Genk. On Sunday, McKenzie finally got back to the starting 11 for Genk, and he played a full 90 minutes and helped them get a clean sheet on a 2-0 win over Standard Liège. The last center back that I want to talk about is Cameron Carter-Vickers from Celtic in Scotland. On Sunday, CCV started and went 74 minutes for Celtic during their 4-1 win over Raith Rovers in the Scottish Cup. He was subbed off when the game was already 3-0, so that's why he didn't go the full 90. Alright, that does it for the center backs. Let's move on to the fullbacks, and I'll start with Anthony Robinson, or Jedi Robinson, and Tim Ream from Fulham. On Saturday, Ream and Robinson started and went the full 90 minutes for Fulham during their 1-0 win over Hull City. Each day, they get closer and closer to the return to the English Premier League. Next up is Reggie Cannon from Boavista. On Saturday, Cannon started and went the full 90 minutes as a right center back on a back 3 during Boavista's 1-1 draw with Portimonense. Next fullback is Sam Vines from Antwerp in Belgium. On Friday, Vines stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes for Antwerp during their 1-0 win over Serang. Next up is Brian Reynolds. On Sunday, Reynolds started and went the full 90 minutes for Kortrijk during their 2-1 loss to Beerschot in the Belgium League. Man, so some of these players need to find different leagues. Some of these names are very complicated to say, and there's only so many languages someone can learn, especially when you're trying to remember all these players' names, stats, and... Okay, let's keep going with the video. Alright, now George Bello, Chris Richards, and Justin Che, as their clubs did face each other over the weekend. On Sunday, Richards was not available for Hoffenheim as he's still recovering from an ankle injury in the US men's national team camp. While Justin Che did not make the cut for this one, he was not even at the bench for Hoffenheim. While George Bello started off on the bench for Arminia Bielefeld, and he came in at the 62nd minute during their 2-0 loss. And look, at this point, from what I've been watching in the games, it looks like George Bello will get that starting job very soon. The question is if Arminia Bielefeld can stay in Bundesliga. Moving forward in the video, we've reached now the midfielders, and if you haven't already, don't forget to hit that like button right now. It's free, takes a second, and it helps the channel quite a bit. Alright, so let's start with Yunus Musah from Valencia. On Sunday, Yunus Musah started and went the full 90 minutes for Valencia during their 2-1 loss to Deportivo Alaves. For the same match, Matt Miazga stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes for Deportivo Alaves. Personally, despite Musah getting an awful rating of 5.9, I thought he wasn't that bad. However, he did commit the PK that led to the loss after a sloppy moment of his on the defensive end. He looked great on the ball in distribution, got out of pressure well, sometimes took too many touches while playing central, that is true. But for the most part, he played central, and sometimes, some occasions, tactically, he would look like he was playing at the right midfield, but that wasn't much during the match. For this match, Yunus Musah had 38 touches, 72% passing accuracy, got 3 out of 3 long passes accurately, won 2 out of 8 ground duels, and won 2 out of 3 aerial duels. Yeah, so it looks like Yunus Musah is a starter for Valencia. He has been for the past 5 matches, playing centrally for the most part, so this is very good for his development. Now he should most certainly stay in Valencia and continue his development. The minutes have been spiking up in a World Cup year. You love to see it. Next one is the Brazilian-American Johnny Cardoso. On Saturday, Johnny started and pretty much went the full 90 minutes for Internacional as he was subbed off at the 90th minute during their 1-0 win over Caxias for the Gaúcho State Championship in Brazil. Next up is Alan Sonora from Independiente in Argentina. On Saturday, Alan started and played 56 minutes for Independiente during their 2-1 loss to Estudiantes. Independiente looked very messy tactically, and Alan would play centrally, roaming, playmaking essentially. It was very confusing to see what his position was, but essentially he was a 10 with lots of freedom to roam. And it wasn't the best performance from the Argentine American, that's why he was subbed off early. Now Tanner Tessman and Gianluca Busio, the Venezia boys. On Saturday, Busio started and played 55 minutes as he was replaced by Tanner Tessman during Venezia's 2-1 win over Torino, a massive away win as they battle against relegation. Surprisingly, I thought Busio looked better defensively than on the ball as he was playing as a 6. Busio had 26 touches, 35% passing accuracy out of not many passes, but that's not very good. He won 4 out of 8 ground duels, 3 out of 8 aerial duels, and had some key tackles as well. The downside is that Busio did get a yellow card and he will serve suspension in the next Serie A match. Maybe Tanner Tessman will get a start or more minutes for that specific game. Alright, next up is James Sands from Rangers in Scotland. On Saturday, James Sands started and went the full 90 minutes for Rangers during their 3-0 win over Annan Athletic in the Scottish Cup 5th round. Now after Brenden Aaronson from RB Salzburg. On Friday, Brenden Aaronson started and went the full 90 minutes for Salzburg during their 2-1 win over Rapid Wien. Brenden scored the goal that tied the game to lead the way for Salzburg's comeback. A very nice goal, by the way. A one-hit finish in the box, a clinical finish to tie the game at the 64th minute. Now, Salzburg does have a big challenge in the midweek as they do face Bayern Munich for the Champions League round of 16 for the first time in their history. Okay, now back to Bundesliga. We're going to go through Julian Green and Tim Tillman from Fürth. On Saturday, Tim Tillman started and played 83 minutes for Fürth, while Julian Green came in at the 83rd minute during their 2-1 win over Hertha Berlin. They've won. This is very rare. And hit the like button just because Fürth won. It doesn't happen very often. It happens every 4 years, just like an Olympic cycle. Now, a player that's been trending among the USMNT community, Luca de la Torre from Heracles. On Friday, Luca de la Torre started and went the full 90 minutes for Heracles during their 1-0 win over Utrecht in the Eredivisie. He played much better than the match against Ajax, but that match wasn't very good. Luca had 56 touches, 89.5% passing accuracy, 1 key pass, won 3 out of 9 ground duels, and had 1 out of 1 aerial duel won. Next up is Alex Mendes from Vizela in Liga NOS in Portugal. On Sunday, Alex Mendes started once again and played 62 minutes for Vizela during their 1-0 loss to Gil Vicente in Liga NOS. Alright, moving forward in the video, now let's go to the forwards. And let's start with Timothy Weah and Nicolas Gioacchini as they faced each other over the weekend. On Saturday, Weah started off on the bench and came in at the 79th minute for Lille, while Gioacchini started off on the bench as well and came in at the 81st minute for Montpellier. As for the game, Lille got a 1-0 win, and the game was already 1-0 when both Americans came in. Quick update on Conrad de la Fuente. So apparently he's back in training, should be available for Olympique Marseille, but over the weekend he didn't even make the bench. Maybe getting back in shape. I'll keep you guys posted, but no minutes for Conrad over the weekend. A little odd, but considering he's coming back from injury, understandable. Next up is Ricardo Pepi versus Joe Scally. Yeah, you thought I skipped Joe Scally on the fullbacks? There he is. It's because they faced each other over the weekend. On Saturday, Pepe started off on the bench and came in at the 63rd minute for Augsburg, while Scally started off on the bench as well and came in at the 90th minute for Gladbach. The game ended with a 3-2 Gladbach win. So not much to take from Ricardo Pepi's performance here. Not much was done. He came in trying to press a lot, but it was a little bit disjointed, the press, in my opinion. I mean, no one was pressing with him. It was just very weird to see when he started. It seemed like everyone does something different in that team. All that Augsburg can do essentially is defend and counter. And they're not even good at it. So they're down 2-0 and their strategy is still to defend and counter. So they're a very strong candidate to get relegated in Bundesliga. Hopefully they don't. I don't want to see Pepe in Bundesliga too. And they probably would have to loan or sell him. I don't even know if they can afford him if they get relegated. But it could happen. Alright, so the updates on Daryl DK now. He didn't play for West Brom as he's currently recovering from an injury, and he's not expected to be back till early April, which means even if Greg Berhalter wanted to, wouldn't be able to call him for the March camp. So don't expect to see DK in February. Don't expect to see Daryl DK in March as well. Next up is Josh Sargent from Norwich. On Saturday, Sargent started and played 87 minutes for Norwich during their 4-0 loss to Manchester City. Now, Sargent played as a right winger, but again, this game was all about defending. This game was essentially Norwich trying to lose for the minimal amount of goals possible, and 4 at the end is not that bad. Who am I kidding? It's terrible, but Norwich are the type of opponents that Manchester City usually 4-0s, 5-0s, 6-0s in the English Premier League. Next up on the list is Chris Mueller from Hibernian in Scotland, the former Orlando City winger. On Sunday, Mueller started off on the bench and came in at the 65th minute for Hibernian during their 3-1 win over Arbroath in the Scottish Cup. Mueller scored a goal at the 87th minute to give them the 3-1 lead and put the nail in the coffin. Alright, next up is Pefok from BSC Young Boys in Switzerland, and this center forward is in form. He's putting the ball in the back of the net, which is what you need from a 9. On Sunday, Pefok started and went the full 90 minutes for BSC Young Boys during their 3-1 win against Basel. This was a massive 3-1 comeback, and Pefok led the way by getting an assist off a nice layoff to get their second goal in this match. Minutes later, he scored for BSC Young Boys the third goal in the match and his first to get them the win. In the past 4 matches in the Swiss League, Pefok has 7 goals and 1 assist. For this season, he has 14 goals and 2 assists in 20 matches played in the Swiss League. Look, he needs to get called up into the next camp if this form continues. I'm not the biggest Pefok fan. I do think he's too static at times. Not the best player in my personal opinion, but we need a guy that can put the ball in the back of the net, and he has been doing that all season long. And yes, I also understand that the Swiss League is not a top 5 league, but it's also not far behind from MLS. If not, the defense might be at a very similar level. So yeah, since we've been struggling with someone that can put the ball in the back of the net, someone that can score, at least bringing in Pefok is a must next camp. Alright, now Christian Ramirez from Aberdeen in Scotland. On Saturday, Ramirez started and went the full 90 minutes for Aberdeen during their 1-0 win over Motherwell in the Scottish Cup. He also scored their goal for this match to get them to the next round. Ramirez has been impressive this season, scoring a lot of goals in Scotland. Personally, I don't rate him, but he is having one heck of a season. I wouldn't call him for the US men's national team. That is what I'm saying. I'm sure LAFC fans and Houston Dynamo fans remember him and likely agree with me. Now, before I wrap up the video, I'm just going to say that Folarin Balogun did get an assist for Middlesbrough over the weekend in the English Championship. It was a beautiful assist. I'm not going to do much reporting on it because I don't know the situation with Balogun in terms of dual national, if he's going to go for the US or England or neither. He still has to prove himself that he can play in that level, but he got a beautiful backheel assist. I just wanted to mention that. Go check out the highlight. All right, everyone, I want to thank you all very much for watching. Don't forget, we will be dropping the Caden Clark interview this midweek and the US men's national team versus Senegal player-by-player comparison. We also have many other interviews lined up that you'll very much enjoy with Herc Gomez. Eric Reinaldo will be back here on the channel. That's all I have for today. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button before you go, and have a great day.